Uncle Fred back in the house, back in the saddle. One more again. You see, Uncle Fred's official. Please hit that like, comment, and subscribe. Been a week or two since I've got with you since the championship games, divisional games, and things of that nature. Talk about a couple things. Super Bowl 57. We'll hit some high notes about that. And what I saw in the Super Bowl. Great game, kind of controversial ending. I went into the Super Bowl thinking one way about how the game wanted, how I wanted the game. Then after some things that happened at the beginning of the game, before the game started, I'm kind of happy it turned out the way it turned out. And I'm gonna talk about that, and then I'm gonna get into my thoughts on that. I'm gonna say some controversial things, but that's all right. Uncle Fred ain't no stranger to controversy. I'm gonna say what I gotta say, but you best believe I am well equipped to refute what I say. I done thought about it. We're gonna talk about that. We're gonna talk about some cowboy news, things on the horizon, things we looking forward to, and as the season winds to an end, man, the season's over, man. So now we got to look at, we didn't do what we wanted to do, so now we got to start looking to next year and draft, combine, OTAs, and all that stuff is all coming, and I'll be here and there. But let's talk about that, man. Let's go. Once again, what's up, people? It's Uncle Fred here. Hit that like, comment, and subscribe. Become a part of the Uncle Fred Sports Experience. And I promise you won't be disappointed. All right, let's get at it, man. Super Bowl kicked off, and Philadelphia Eagles versus the Kansas City Chiefs. It's on yesterday. Um, Great game. Eagles, look, man. I give the team its dap, man. It did what it did. It was going up and down the field. It was going to be basically it was pitting the best team, a semblance of team, versus who I feel is the better player, the best player, best team versus the best player. So it's sort of like in basketball back in like 2015, 2016 through 2015 through 2018 in the NBA Finals. You had the best team, the Warriors, against the best player, LeBron. You know, um, but in the NFL, the team's supposed to beat player. So in NBA, a great player can beat good teams, beat great teams sometimes. So I mean, the game was, it was ebb and flow, man. They Andy Reid elected to win the toss, and since I think 2013, every team that's won the toss has lost the game, and he deferred. Gave the Eagles the ball first. They promptly went 75 yards, went right down the field, and got a touchdown. I think it was Gainwell at first, and I think it ended up being Jalen Hurts. Scored and made 7-0. Chiefs come right back. 18-yard pass from Mahomes to Travis Kelce at 7-7. The Eagles come right back, and actually they stalled on their next drive, and the Eagles really should have came back and went up 10-7. Andy Reid went conservative on me and got down inside the, I think, like the 22, 23-yard line and elected to try the field goal. But Harrison Butker missed the 43-yard field goal, hit the left upright, doink. And so the Eagles got the ball right down the field. They had just stopped them, but he went right down the field, and it's 14-7. Then the Chiefs should have, they were driving on another drive, and it was third and like 6, I think, and Mahomes went over the middle to Juju Smith-Schuster, And I thought Bradbury kind of turned him a little bit, but they ain't called it. We'll be coming back to that later. So they had to punt. The Eagles were starting to drive. It was 3rd and 1. And I think the center, I don't know if it was Kelsey, somebody moved. Uh, and so it ended up being 3rd and 6. And it was one of those little option read things with Jalen, and he got pressure, and when he went to change hands with the ball, he lost it, and then Nick Bolton picked it up. It bounced right to him, scooped in about 35 yards for the touchdown. And just like that, it's 14-14. And it could have very well have been 21-7 because the Eagles was trying. It wasn't. It really. Uh, the Eagles really weren't really stopped. The offense that they were employing, and is if you watch the game, you started dissecting what they were doing. They were shortening the game. They had a couple of deep throws. I think Devontae had a nice long reception, one they took from him, and I know that Dallas. Um, God, I can't think his name. Dallas. God, I can't think his name. The tight end. He had a nice long catch that they thought he caught against his helmet. It kind of moved, but then they gave it to him. But for the most part, it was like 8-9 yard runs, 6-7 yard passes, 8-9 yard runs, and they were running the play clock down to 5 seconds and below each time, shortening the game down because you want to keep number 15 on the sideline, right? And they got down. Devontae caught a nice one, got down inside the 12-yard line. I thought the Eagles ran 2 minutes time off the clock before calling a timeout with like 6 seconds left, and they had to settle for a field goal. So it ended up being 24-14 at halftime. And of course, then at halftime, if we start looking at the statistics, the Chiefs only had the ball, I think, like 3 times because they got a scoop and score. Only had the ball 3 times, I think. And the Eagles were just eating up clock, man. I think of the first uh, 30 minutes, I think they had the ball like 22 of them. And so, yeah, I mean, so it went in halftime. Rihanna performed, did her thing. And then the game came back, and the Chiefs went down, scored, and Eagles came down, kicked the field goal. Chiefs came back, scored, touchdown again. And the Eagles got stopped. Chiefs came down, got another touchdown. Before you know it, they was up 35-27. And the Eagles came right back. Devontae Smith caught like a 45-yard pass. I don't know what Sneed. I don't know what he was doing. He on one receiver and left off of Devontae Smith to cover the dude on the inside and left Devontae Smith wide open. He ended up catching like a 45-yard pass, getting it down to the 3, and Jalen scored on a 2-point conversion. And before you know it, with about, 6-7 minutes to go in the game, it's 35-35. And the Chiefs went on a little drive. They just started moving the ball. First down here, first down. Juju Smith-Schuster was tearing it up in the second half, right? And I think he had like 6 catches for like 90 yards, okay? But Mahomes was the truth in the second half. He did nothing deep. I think his longest pass was 22 yards. But he was 13 of 14 for 93 yards and like 3 touchdowns in the second half. Yeah. He was all that, man. He was all that. Uh, um, 3 touchdowns, 2 touchdowns in the second half because the other touchdown was a running play by Pacheco. But yeah, they got that. But they ran the clock, ran it down. They had a 3rd and 5 from like the 20-yard line. And the play that will be talked about and all over the uh, Juju Smith-Schuster's running a little, I guess you can call it a little arrow route where he kind of like, flares back and then flares back out, and then James Bradbury kind of puts his hand on him, and appears to maybe grab his collar just a little bit, and Mahomes threw the ball into the corner of the end zone, out comes the laundry. Now, remember, I said I get back to that play in the first quarter where he got turned and the refs didn't call that. It was on third and like 6 or something like that, and it allowed because Chiefs could have took control of the game at that point because they had just stopped the Chiefs. I mean, stopped the Eagles, and they got the ball and they had a couple of first downs. And it was like 3rd and 6 or whatever, and he went over the middle to Juju, and it was obvious that he kind of turned him a little bit. No, nothing came. But here in the fourth quarter, with 2 minutes or so left to go in the game, what I thought was less contact with that, they decided to call a defensive holding, which is 5 yards and an automatic first down. Well, you know what that means. That means now they get the ball inside the 15-yard line with a new set of downs, and now the Eagles got to start using their timeouts. Or you may as well just try to let them score. So they had a little play off to the left with Jared McKinnon, and he scooted around the left end and went down at the 1. And if the Eagles were smart, they'd have shoved him on in the end zone. Okay, but that allowed them to just run some plays, let them use the timeout. They had 2 left, running another kneel down, and it was at like the 4-yard line. So they kicked like a 20-yard field goal with 8 seconds left, and that was the ball game. They're going to be forever talking about that holding call on that 3rd down and 8, because most time when you look at the games kind of the officials kind of like in the coaches tell the players all the time to kind of like be knowledgeable of how a game is called, because you have some referee teams that call a bunch of things. They call every little nook and cranny. It won't be nothing for each team to have 8, 9, 10 penalties. And then you have some of them like, nah, I'm only gonna call the egregious stuff. Keep the game moving. Well, this seemed to be of that variety, because I don't even think there was even that many penalties called in that game. To be perfectly honest with you. I really don't think it was that many penalties called in that game. Shoot, I'll tell you exactly how many there were right here. The Chiefs had 3 penalties for 14 yards. And the Eagles had 6 penalties for 33 yards. So you're talking about 9 penalties for both teams, and not even 50 yards in penalties. So it was not what they call overly officious, if you want to call it that, if that's even a word. So and I've heard it go back and forth. I heard Skip and Shannon talking about it. Skip obviously, he pulling for Jalen Hurts, which some of us all were, to a certain degree, because Jalen went to Alabama. I got a fondness for him and what he's gone through and because I remember him when he came to Alabama as a 16, 17-year-old, and I've basically seen him grow up basically. So I kind of have an affinity for him. So I get all that. But I'm a Mahomes guy too, because Mahomes is just that boy something else right there. He's just the best player in the NFL, and you just love watching him play. So I could go win either way. I'll tell you how I think about it now here in a minute. So Skip thinks that they got robbed. You just don't call that. Shannon was like, Shannon, he like Mahomes. That's my homeboy. So he's like, no, it's a penalty. If it's a penalty in the first quarter, and it's a penalty, he said, Skip's like, but it wasn't a penalty in the first quarter because they didn't call it. It was a more egregious one than the one that they called. And I just didn't think that game deserved that. And I'm with them on that, because there would have been more things that they could have called earlier in the game that they didn't call, but you want to call that one, and that was really game altering. So I would have liked for them to have kept that flag in their pocket, but they didn't. And flag was made. Gave them automatic first down, allowed them to burn more time off the clock because if they don't call that, the Chiefs have to kick that field goal from right there, and the Eagles get about a minute and a half with like maybe a timeout left, and see if Jalen could have moved them in the field goal range, in a minute and a half or whatever. We could have, seen what would have happened, but we never got a chance to see that, and I feel like we got robbed. So, but anyway, then they got they had an incomplete pass on their one play. And when the Eagles got it back, and it ended up 35 to 38-35. Okay. Just some of the particulars. I mean, the Chiefs had 21 first downs, the Eagles 25. Time of possession, 36 minutes for the Eagles. I told you, man, they was eating the clock up in the first half. In the second half, not so much. I think they punted maybe once or twice in the second half. But what was surprising was how well the Chiefs was able to run the football. Because if you would have came into the game thinking one team was going to run the ball for 150 some odd yards, you would think it's going to be the Eagles, right? No, Monfrere. The Chiefs ran for 158 yards, led by Isaiah Pacheco, 10 carries for 67 yards. Isaiah Pacheco had, he had, 15 carries for 76 yards. I'm sorry, what did I say, 60, 70? No, he had 76 yards and a touchdown. Mahomes had one big time 26-yard run, man. Right about 2 minutes to go before half, which I failed to mention, he got nobody was open. He scrambled to the left and kind of got that same ankle kind of like caught up under him, and he hobbled off the field. And and I guess that long halftime, with Rihanna, I think it was like over 30 minutes. The halftime show was, so maybe they got that thing treated, maybe shot it up or something. Who knows? But in the fourth quarter, right before that, that controversial call, Mahomes broke loose for a 26-yard run. That was like the longest run he's had this year. And I got it down to that next set of downs where that controversial call come in. And, so he rushed for 44 yards. Jared McKinnon, 4 carries for 34 yards. The Chiefs ran the ball 26 times for 158 yards in a touchdown, and was like 6.1 yards per carry. Conversely, the Eagles, ran the ball for 132 carries for 115 yards, 3.6 yards a carry, but 3 touchdowns. But yeah, as I was saying, Mahomes was 13 of 14 for 93 yards and 2 touchdowns in the second half. 8 of 13 for like 90 yards in the first half and a touchdown, but no turnovers. The only turnover there was Jalen Hurts' fumble, which, was kind of unfortunate. It was kind of an unfortunate series of events, and led to that. And I kind of hated it for him because I know how a Philly fan is. I'm gonna talk to you about Philly fan here in a minute. They're, how they are ruthless. They, to some degree, kind of classless. I'm gonna talk to you about that here in a minute. But Jalen though, man, had a pretty nice game, man. He 28 for 37 for 304 yards, 1 touchdown on the ground, 3 touchdown running. I think he had like 5 quarterback sneaks. Can't seem to stop him on them, man. He gets them, man. He gets them. I get that leg drive that he has, gets him those. But Eagles played well, led good bit of the first half. Chiefs didn't take the lead until like early in the fourth quarter. They went up 28-27 and really never looked back. Went up 8, and they got tied, and they went ahead and kicked the field goal, assisted by that gratuitous call, and the Eagles go down 38-35. All right, so what are we saying here? Man, there's been a lot of talk, man. Mahomes, 21 out of 27. I think they ran the ball 26 times, threw it 27 times. Pretty even. I thought Patrick Mahomes didn't throw it for 182 yards. I get 93 in the first half, 89 in the first half. You know, and 8 of 13 for 89 in the first half, and 13 to 14 for 93 in the second half. Not controlled underneath stuff. They weren't gonna let you get nothing deep. And he just moved the chains, kept the drives moving, ran the ball when they wasn't thinking they were going to. You never would have thought they could have ran the ball on them, but they ran it. They ran it on them. Andy Reid, man, I'm gonna tell you something. Andy Reid, I'm gonna tell you that's the difference. And you got a good, competent play caller makes all the difference in the world. You can be as talented as you want. The two touchdowns they got in the fourth quarter. Oh, and I almost forgot. Kadarius Toney had like a 62-yard punt return off of one of the stops they got the Eagles. Got it down to the 5-yard line. And then they got a touchdown off of that drive and then another drive where they drove the field. But the two touchdown drives, the two touchdowns that they scored inside the red zone was two things that I saw that's nothing but Andy Reid. Okay. Because all through their extensive film study, they'd seen how the Eagles gambled on the, and you can get them on the motion runs, on the motion. They line up and you send a man in motion. People don't understand. A lot of time when you send people in motion, that sets up that determines number one if they're running man to man or if they're in zone. If somebody runs with you, they're in man. If nobody runs with you, you're in zone. But it also tells you who's running with them, who's covering who. And but a lot of times they saw that the Eagles would not substitute in those plays. You know how the NBA they do switching. They do that in football also. They switch, but the Eagles wouldn't switch. They were uber aggressive on those. So what Andy Reid did, he used their aggressiveness against them, but he used it in a time when they couldn't adjust to it. So what he did, he sent a dude in motion. In one possession, it was Kadarius Toney, sent him on in motion, and then stopped. There's a snap. He stopped and went backwards, reversed field, and he was wide open because the guy that was covering him is about midway of the formation and had to turn around and run back, and he couldn't get back in time. And then the second touchdown did the same thing on the left side with Sky Moore, number 24. Did the same thing. Faked the motion, faked the jet sweep or whatever, and then he reverse pivot, went back to the flat, and he's wide open because the guy that's covering him has to run on his side of the formation to mirror him. And he doesn't know what he's doing. He has to react to what he's doing. And you never know where a receiver is going. You have to guess and anticipate. And you might say, well, they got it burnt you on one before. You should have been looking for that. Yeah, maybe so. Maybe so. Maybe so. But he got them two touchdowns on him, and that was about it. Andy Reid, I thought he called a masterful game. And for all the ballyhoo, the Philadelphia Eagles front line, accumulating 70 sacks in the regular season and 8 sacks to 2 games in the playoffs against the Giants and the 49ers, totaling 78 sacks. For them not to have sacked Mahomes no times tells you how good that offensive line is, and they won the game. So, hats off to the Eagles. I mean, to the Chiefs. And now people start talking about Mahomes being, number 3 best quarterback of all time. Which that's a discussion to be had, man. Dude's 5 years, 6 years in. It's never been short of the AFC Championship game in those seasons. Been to 3 Super Bowls, won 2 of them. Has 2 MVPs, has 2 Super Bowl MVPs. He's the most electrifying guy in the game right now. Best player in the game. I think that's not even arguable. And you can only think he's going to get better as long as Andy Reid stay with him. So we're going to see, man. We're going to see. So now, I'm going to get to my part, what I'm going to talk about now. Before the game, they had, Damar Hamlin up, and they honored him, and they honored the responders that dealt with him on that game back in November. November or December when they played. It was in December when they played the Cincinnati Bengals, and he collapsed. But those responders, man, they got him back, man, and he's back and he's making his tour. He's going around and talking to folks, and he's uplifting folks and all this kind of stuff. So they had that in there, and then they brought they had the in of course now as for Cowboys and is concerned, and I'm gonna go ahead and switch the things up here. But anyway, so as it relates to there we go. As it relates to the Cowboys, on Thursday night at the NFL Honors Awards, our very own quarterback Dak Prescott, Dakota Prescott, won the prestigious Walter Payton Man of the Year award. Now, regardless of what you think about Dak Prescott and how he played this year or didn't play, and he didn't meet his expectations or he's inconsistent, whatever the case might be, there's no mistaking that he's a quality individual. That's high quality person and does big, huge philanthropic things. Does all the stuff in the community. Has a foundation, he's just an individual that gets it and understands that you have a platform and you use your platform to do good in this world. And you couldn't ask for a better individual to do that. Now, you may say, hey, he's not getting the job done as well as I like. Yeah, okay, I give you that. But as an individual, as a human, can't beat Dakota Prescott, man. Can't beat him. All right, can't beat him. Okay. So he wins the Walter Payton Man of the Year award. And that's a very prestigious award. Started giving it in 1970. It used to be called the Gladiator Award. And in 1977, 70, 79, 70. What year was it? Did they start naming it Walter Payton? No, it was 98. It might have been the year may have been the year he passed. Walter Payton passed because he won it in 77. I think it was like the year he came to the league, I think, or the first or second year he came to the league. Various individuals have won it, and it's very hard to win that. You don't just build a rec center and get the Walter Payton the Man of the Year award. I mean, you have to be years into that thing and have built things and changed lives and done some great things in order to win that. So but yeah, so then they made the presentation at the Super Bowl right before the game. And you heard a chorus of boos. And we were sitting there and I was like, dude, they booing him? I said, I know he didn't play the best, but this ain't about playing this because it's to being in a football player is it's more than what you do on the field. You got a life outside of the game, and it's all about what you do with that. Because some of them dudes don't do nothing outside of that. They don't have they're spending money and living their life or whatever. But when you live for other folks and helping other people, man, that's big stuff, man. That's not worthy to be booed and stuff. And then you start thinking about it. And I didn't think much of it. And the game went on and whatnot. But then after the game, I started tuning in to some of the Cowboy content creators that I listened to. And then I started getting a full picture of what took place. And there's two or three of them were saying it, and they were livid about it. Them was Philadelphia Eagles fans because they were in attendance because they were in the Super Bowl, right? And they chose to boo Dak Prescott in public at this event in front of America, in front of 150 million people. However many people watched the Super Bowl for winning the Walter Payton Man of the Year award. And I thought about that, and I'm like, you know what, man, that's kind of like, and then you hear all the stuff about Eagles fans or Philly fan booing Santa Claus back in whatever year that was, and they booed Michael Irvin when he was laying motionless on the field. They cheered him for being carted off the field, which would be his last play of his career back in '99. You hear about that, and them throwing stuff. And you hear about them even with the Phillies. So there's some things going on with that. But you booed the man at the Super Bowl at the for winning the Walter Payton Man of the Year award for doing community service. Let me tell you what Dak Prescott has done. He's established the Faith Fight and Finish Foundation, which deals with treatment and funding to treat colon cancer, which his mom Peggy died of back in 2013. He also has resources going toward and dealing with mental health and mental illness. He had a brother that committed suicide a couple of years ago, and also deals with suicides because he committed suicide. So he deals with those sorts of things, and he also has some endeavors out there that deal with the divide between law enforcement and the community and bridging that gap, and then dealing with the underserved communities and making sure they have access to the resources. I think it's in and around Texas and Louisiana, which the areas he's from. He's set up those kind of networks and stuff, and in the work he's doing in that in the hospitals and stuff like that. And the NFL was paying attention to that, and so they honored him with this award. And this is not, they don't just get this to anybody. And I thought it was rather classless for them to do that to him for that, regardless of what he do on the field. That's two different things. You got to realize it's sort of like they don't have the capability of realizing that when it's time to be an adult and it's time to, to do, and you can't do that. You can't do that. It's almost like you're at a black tie event and you rubbing, you wiping your nose with your sleeve. I mean, or you got your elbows on the table. Sometimes you just got to know, and you got to be above that kind of thing. Grow up, right? And I know on the field, we don't like each other. Cowboys don't like Eagles. Eagles don't like Cowboys. Cowboys don't like Giants. They don't like Commanders or whatever they call themselves this week. Okay. But I thought that was trashy and classless for them to do that on national TV. No, and I thought as an individual and what Dak has done in the community and what he's done as an individual and what kind of first class human being he is, he didn't deserve that. And you were really trashed for doing that. All right. Now, don't take my word for it. I'm just Uncle Fred. I'm just your local everyday cowboy fan, right? What I say may not mean nothing, right? Take it from Jared Payton. Oh yeah, Jared Payton, Walter Payton's son, and his sister Brittany, who were there. See, sometimes when you do stuff, you don't realize some things might be, I don't know, classless or maybe distasteful to the people that are presenting the thing, because this is honor of their late father, whose award this was named after. See, that sometimes you got to, so he went on a show today, and he talked about that. And Jared Payton said this. Jared Payton says this. Jared Payton says the football gods, if you believe in that sort of thing, that's just something people say, I think. Jared Payton said the football gods favored the Chiefs after Eagles fans booed Prescott at the Walter Payton Man of the Year ceremony. He went on to say that, and I'm reading it verbatim, and then, before the award went on, there was discussions amongst the presenters. Andrew Whitworth, who won it last year for the Rams, was saying that, hey, it may be something going on here. So they didn't even say Cowboys. They just said we're going to, award Dak Prescott. But anyway, this is Jared Payton's reaction. He says, it hurt me a little bit because even in that moment, you can be upset with all of those guys that are on rival teams that you play against. But still in that moment, it took me back a little bit. I was like, come on, man, for all the good this guy's doing in the community, just clap for him a little bit. Maybe then when he's walking off the field and on the stage, maybe you can boo him. But while he's up there, show him his props and his respect. So they were kind of took back and embarrassed by it. So when you do these things, sometimes it has an effect that you didn't intend to, you know. So it's just Eagles fans being trashy, being not who they, being, what we expect them to be. He going on and said, but however, I didn't take it personal, but the football gods were looking down on them when they did that. There's a reason why Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs came out in the second half and laid it on them. And it is what it is. So when I came back and I thought about that thing, because really, as the Super Bowl was going, whatever, I was kind of 50-50 because, like I said, I like Mahomes. I'm not necessarily a Chiefs fan. I like Mahomes because he's just exciting to watch. And, I got affinity for Jalen because, Alabama, and I just like the character he has with. So I was kind of like, I didn't care. I just want to see a good game, right? But when I thought about that thing afterwards, I came to the conclusion of, and I don't care who need to hear this, I'm glad they lost. I'm glad they lost because you can't go around spewing venom and bile and disgusting things and doing and saying disgusting things and good things happen to you. Yeah, you Eagles, you 1-3 in Super Bowls. You got one. One is the loneliest number that you'll ever do. Yeah, you got one. 1-3. Everybody else in our division got at least 3. Commanders got 3. Giants got 4. We got 5. You got 1. And your attitude is why you got 1. Because God don't like ugly. Okay? The only reason I was pulling for y'all a little bit, and it's just bad a little bit, is because of Jalen. But Jalen can't even put enough perfume on this pig. Okay? You guys are disgusting, okay, to do that. I would think you guys would be bad enough to run over an old lady crossing the street if she had a Cowboys jersey on. You guys would do that and think that's funny, okay? And if people can not like the Cowboys because of who their owner is, because he rubs them the wrong way, how easy would it be to dislike the Eagles because of how disgusting their fan base is? Okay? That was on public display, all right? Now, I'm going to let you hear something. A guy from the Eagles called into a radio show today on this. All right. And this is what he said. I'm going to let you hear it.
John, normally I would say, what's up, man? How you doing? But I think I already know. Good to have you on, John. What's on your mind?
Low, Jim. So low.
I hear you.
Dude, busted nose thanks to the Phillies, right? Now I get a gut punch from the Eagles. All right, it's like, what? I can't even breathe, okay? So let's put this script to rest, Jim. I've heard it from you. You nail all these points. Did anybody see the energy that the Kansas City Chiefs were hitting our boys with on the first couple plays? They came out like hornets, and now Philadelphia is like a hornet's nest got hit by rocks. They're buzzing about the coordinators. Oh, they were looking for jobs. Everybody's all bent out of shape. Jim, what fan base boos Santa and boos the Walter Payton recipient? Are you kidding me? I know it was Dak, all right? But you see him mouth it when he's on the screen. Philly fan. Yep, that was Philly fan. Thanks, guys. It's kind of like Rick sitting there dreaming about his next buffet. Come on.
So even Philly fans thought that was disgusting. It was embarrassed of their own fan base for doing that. All right. Yeah, you don't do that, man. You just don't. And if people can be disgusted or can't follow the Cowboys because I can't get past the owner, the stuff he done, but then you could be the same way with you can't follow the Eagles because I follow them because I like Jalen. Well, I'm gonna tell you just like this: as it relates to character and decency and upright and stuff, that don't take no backseat to Jalen. He just don't. He played better than Dak this year. That'd be the only thing, but he got purpose too. What, he don't have purpose because he didn't win? He threw 16 interceptions. He don't have purpose. The dude set a foundation up that allowed him to win the Walter Payton Man of the Year award. I think he has purpose. I think he has as much purpose as Jalen has. All right. But I guess it isn't cool or trendy to put Dak in that same vernacular because I guess he didn't win as much, right? But yeah, people check yourself, man, because Jalen ain't the only guy that has character or it has purpose or has purpose before people had an opinion. All right. He's as good an individual as Jalen is. All right. He's as good a genuine an individual as Jalen is. Now, you might argue he might not be as good a quarterback. He may not be, but he's every bit as good. And you know, as Philadelphia fans, you know you'd be upset if Jalen won some award and he's up there, giving his testimony about what he's been through, and we would be booing. You would say we were classless, and I would be right with you. All right? Show some class. That was disgusting. Now, if you follow them, you should be upset with your fan base about that. If you're going to be about the right thing, be about the right thing. All right? Don't just be about the right thing because it's a certain individual. If you're going to be about something, be about it. And that's all I got to say about that. And again, I'm glad y'all lost. Lose some more. I hope y'all don't ever win another Super Bowl. All right. Now, I done said that. I done ranted my rant on that. Boo Dak at the daggum Walter Payton Man of the Year award. Y'all be shaming yourselves. But y'all aren't. Y'all think y'all did something. Y'all think that's funny. Okay? Yeah, y'all disgusting. Y'all are an embarrassment to the NFL. I don't care what nobody says. Y'all are an embarrassment. All right. So let's get on to some other things. So that part of the season's over with. Super Bowl's over with. As the Cowboys are concerned, what's on the horizon? Since the last time I talked, we just selected our offensive coordinator. It's going to be Brian Schottenheimer. He was the like a consultant. He's been with the Seahawks and some other teams. He comes in well versed in the West Coast offense. So him and Mike McCarthy should be able to put together some stuff so that hopefully they'll get some things together with the West Coast offense. And it's on you, Mike. It's on you. So, and of course, the West Coast offense can probably have more of the deep routes, more horizontal digs and slants, and crossing routes. So you want to attack the defense both horizontally and vertically, and you have a read at the short level, at the intermediate level, and the deep level. One's crossing, the one's going deep. That way, the teams it's harder to cover. That's the beauty of the West Coast offense, and of course, you employ the backside of the backfield. As elusive as Tony Pollard is, I think he had like 32 receptions. All right. Dude, that dude should be catching 50 catches, 50, 60 catches, right? So we'll see what they do this year. Now, as it goes forward, the draft's getting ready. Who you think we ought to draft? I mean, we need to be talking about drafts. People been talking about who we should draft. A lot of people are talking about this cornerback out of Maryland, Deontay Banks. He's 5'10", 198 pounds, runs a 4.5. I don't know how. I never saw any tape on him, but they've been talking about him. They've been talking about. I've been hearing about this Paris Johnson's a tackle from Ohio State. He's pretty good. I think we need offensive line help too. I know we need corners and offensive line help because I think Tyron Smith is going to be a cap casualty, as I think Zeke's going to be a cap casualty. Do you want to draft a running back? And I think we've seen with Pacheco and Jared McKinnon, you don't need no first round back to be successful because that dude, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, didn't even get in the game. He's been hurt all season. They doing good with a 7th round Isaiah Pacheco. All right. So if your play calling is up to par, you don't need a first round back. So all you guys that want us to get Bijan Robinson out of Texas, he's bad now. Him or Jahmyr Gibbs out of Bama, they're good, man. They're both good. But I don't know, man. I kind of like, but But I know we need wide receiver help too. I don't know if you want to go that right through via the draft or via free agency, but I've been seeing guys getting drafted down by 26 where we drafting that. If Jordan Addison is available when we drafted 26, y'all better scoop him up. That dude's a bad boy, man. USC, best receiver in college. Ran a pro offense, but I would take a look at him. Chris Gonzalez, a cornerback out of Oregon, he's pretty good too. I know we need corners. We need that cornerback 2 position opposite Diggs. We'll have to deal with that. So that's something that's coming. We're going to need to be dealing with. So, that's something we'll be looking at. Free agents, what you want to do free agent wise? Hopkins might be available, but he going to want some north of $25-30 million. And shoot, we don't want to pay the guy we got now. So I don't know about that. Brandon Cooks is a guy we tried to get for the trade deadline, and I think he really wants to get out of Houston. He's got a great speed complement to the rack and yak ability of CeeDee Lamb. So I like Brandon Cooks myself, and I think he might come at a little bit of a discount than Hopkins. But then what about defense? All the guys have said CeeDee Lamb at the Pro Bowl games, not the Pro Bowl game, the Pro Bowl games. They're saying we need weapons. We need weapons. And usually receivers don't be talking about getting no more weapons. But he know we need weapons. He said, Dak, we need weapons. Dak, and really they took weapons from Dak. And people that ain't really paying attention don't understand that the Eagles added weapons to their repertoire. They allowed Jalen to do what he did. If they loaded the team up with guys, and we cut guys, all right? We let Randy Gregory go, and we let Amari Cooper go. And somebody was telling me, said, well, Amari Cooper, but he better than Noah Brown and Michael Gallup put together. No matter what temperament you think he's got. Noah Brown was a special teams dude. He's not a receiver per se. He's as much a receiver as Matthew Slater is for the Patriots. He's a special teams wedge buster, tackler on special teams. He's not a receiver, per se. But we had to make him that because all we had is CeeDee Lamb and a guy coming off an ACL injury, right? So, do you want defense? Because Deron Payne could be had from the Commanders, came from University of Alabama, defensive tackle, had 11.5 sacks. From the defensive tackle position is pretty impressive. And we need that push up the middle and that would free up Micah to do it because you got to put so much concentration on the middle to keep Payne off of the quarterback that Micah and Dorrance Armstrong and Sam Williams might be running free. DeMarcus Lawrence, they may be running free. So you might want to get us Payne and you pair him up with Jonathan Hankins on the inside. Woo! Then you can cycle in Odigizua and Neville Gallimore and Quentin Bohanna, and you got to cycle them in and out. So it's a lot of things that got to be considered here, man. A lot of things got to be considered. So I'll be coming back every so often to try to, we'll talk about some of that stuff as it comes up. We see what we're doing. So I might be away for a few weeks as some of these things start to come to fruition. Other Cowboy news: Hall of Fame inductees. DeMarcus Ware was named to the NFL Hall of Fame because the Hall of Fame game comes in July, end of July, I think the first week in August, and so he'll be inducted then. So got that Drew Pearson last year, got DeMarcus Ware this year, and from the seniors committee, you got Chuck Howley. Chuck Howley been trying to get this for about 25, 35 years, man. Chuck Howley played for us in the 70s. The only NFL losing teams Super Bowl MVP. Colts won on a walk-off field goal, won at 16-13, but the game was sloppy. He had 3 interceptions, and he won the MVP, even though it was on a losing team. It was 1970-71. Incidentally, around the same time in the NBA, they did the same thing, and it hadn't been done since. the NBA's finals in '69, which was Bill Russell's last year playing. The Lakers and the Celtics played a 7-game marathon, and which the Celtics won, but they gave the Finals MVP to Jerry West because he averaged like 35 points a game or whatever. When they should have given it to Bill Russell, but there was some racial things going on then as the NBA was concerned. But it's just interesting, 79, 69, 70, 71 or whatever, that the teams, NBA and NFL teams kind of did the same thing that hadn't been done since, that you give a losing team the player, the MVP of the championship, series or game or whatever. So, but Chuck Hollery is 86 years old, wasn't able to come. His son came to receive the award, the commendation or whatever, represented him. But he's got serious dementia, and I'm just glad they gave it to him while he was still on this earth. Maybe he might be able to kind of enjoy it. But it's another Cowboy in the Hall of Fame. So that's 3 in the last 2 Hall of Fame cycles. So that's good. So other news, Michael Irvin was in the news, had the little incident. He was on the first day of coverage for the Super Bowl. I saw him interviewing Jalen Hurts and Patrick Mahomes, and had some good insight and good couple of sessions with them. And the next night I heard that he had been sent home. Supposedly had some run-in with a woman at the Marriott Hotel that he was staying at in Glendale. But it was later found out, and some dudes that was hanging out with him, a dude from Australia and another dude that happened to be an Eagles fan, made videos, said, no, man, he just went to the elevator when we came back from getting our drinks in the bar at the hotel, and he just, she came to him at the elevator, swapped a few words with her, kept his distance from her when the elevator came, or as the guy said, the lift, because that's what they say in Australia, the lift. He said he went on up to his room, but then later she came and complained to the hotel that he was assaulted her or did something, and NFL network sent him home without investigating. And so Michael Irvin has a suit for $100 million. And I hope he get every penny, because this Me Too movement and went berserk with that. Now, obviously, there's a reason for Me Too, because there were some guys that was doing some things they ain't had no business doing, and that needed to get started. But now it's just like, oh, okay, if you just look at me wrong, I'm gonna get you, and if I say it, it means it happened, and that ain't always so. You always got to be able to give some evidence for something. I just can't say you stole something from me and they ain't got no evidence, because it soils your reputation. And reputation is one of them things. Once you lose it, can't never get it back. So, Michael, if what they were saying is true, that this thing was just you just talked to her at the elevator and got in and nothing happened, man, I hope you sue her for everything she got, and I hope you sue the Marriott for $100 million or whatever they got, and I hope you're able to retire and do whatever the heck you want, because nobody should ever have to be able to get away with doing that to another individual and ruin somebody's reputation on something like that. So, but that's all I got, man, from the desk of Uncle Fred. Been a couple of weeks away from you. A lot of things I'm passed under the bridge, since I last seen you guys. So it might be a few weeks before I see you guys again, but as big things come up, or any movement, any big event happens for the Cowboys, I'm gonna be right here and let you know what I think about it. Cowboys got their work cut out for them, man. Eagles went to the Super Bowl twice in the last 5-6 years. We running around in circles, man. Okay. And maybe we getting cursed because of Jerry, and just like the Eagles might be getting cursed because of their fans. We got to do better. And I'm gonna tell Jerry, Jerry got to be better. And maybe help, and the Eagles fans, y'all got to be better, man. Be something that your team deserves to have, and and the Eagle fan, y'all don't deserve Jalen Hurts or Devontae Smith. Get rid of them dudes, because y'all don't deserve to have them. But that's all I got, man, from the desk to Uncle Fred. Sorry for the long video, but it's been a long time since I've seen you guys. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Become a part of the Uncle Fred Sports Experience. Guarantee you, you will not be disappointed. You guys, God bless. Take care.